Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest local news, including state police DUI enforcement over this upcoming holiday weekend. Later in the show, we preview our HAN newspapers this week. Frank Granito will have a look at your forecast and your Nutmeg Sports Update, and Donald Lang will join us later to take a look back on this day in history. But first, the families of 6 victims killed in the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School are suing controversial talk show host Alex Jones for defamation. Now, that civil lawsuit was filed on Wednesday in Bridgeport Superior Court. Now, those plaintiffs include relatives of Victoria Soto, a Stratford native who taught first grade at elementary school in Newtown. FBI agent and first responder William Alderberg are also among those plaintiffs. Now, Jones, the host of InfoWars, is a defendant along with Wolfgang Halbig, a frequent guest on Jones's show, and Corey Sklanka. Now, Josh Koskoff, an attorney representing the families, said that Jones has used InfoWars to suggest that the shooting at Sandy Hook did not happen. Now, Koskoff continued that Jones, quote, knew his claims were false, but he made them anyway to further a simple but pathetic goal to make money by tearing away at the family's pain. Now, there is more on that story at StratfordStar.com. And Norwalk police detectives are asking for the public's help finding a man wanted on burglary and larceny charges. Now, police say they have multiple arrest warrants for Francisco Reyes. They say Reyes is known to frequent hotels in Fairfield County, and they're asking anyone with information regarding Reyes' whereabouts to contact detectives at 203-854-3051. Now, anonymous tips can also be left at norwalkpd.com. And Hearst, Connecticut media reports that a Wilton man allegedly caught with his pants down in a Trumbull Target store claimed he was only there to buy birdseed. Now, 57-year-old Joe Bear of Indian Hill Road was charged Tuesday with risk of injury to children and public indecency. Trumbull police said officers were dispatched to the Target store on Main Street. A local woman complained that a man had exposed himself to her 13-year-old daughter in the store. Now, when officers reviewed the store's surveillance video, police said they saw Bear drop his pants and expose his genitals to the girl in the toy department, and then do it again a few minutes later in front of 2 women in the stationery aisle. Now, police said that when confronted, Bear had claimed he had driven to the store from his Wilton home to buy birdseed. He told officers that his pants had fallen down accidentally while he was in that store. And in other news, Connecticut state troopers are preparing for increased traffic during this Memorial Day weekend and summer 2018 celebrations and vacations. Now, they're asking all drivers to follow the laws and be courteous on the roads. Now, during Memorial Day weekend 2017, state troopers arrested 31 drunk drivers. They also charged 719 motorists with speeding and issued 668 seatbelt violations. Now, in addition, troopers investigated 302 motor vehicle crashes, 48 with injury, and 2 fatal that resulted in 3 deaths. Now, troopers will be conducting roving enforcement patrols, and sobriety checkpoints will be set up at several locations throughout the state over this holiday weekend. Now, locally on May 26th, there will be a roving patrol on Interstate 95 and Routes 8 and 25 in Bridgeport, Stratford, and Trumbull. On May 27th, those roving patrols will be on Interstate 95 in Stamford, Norwalk, Greenwich, and Route 7 in the Norwalk area. And on May 28th, state police say roving patrols will be on Route 15, the Merritt Parkway, from the New York state line to the Sikorsky Bridge. And in other news, some state parks will remain closed this holiday weekend as the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection continues to clear the damage caused by last Tuesday's major storm. Now, DEEP announced Wednesday that Kettletown State Park in Southbury will reopen to the public at noon this Friday, May 25th. Now, parts of Kettletown State Park will continue to be closed to the public. However, the campgrounds will be open for Memorial Day camping. Now, DEP previously announced that Sleeping Giant State Park in Hamden and Whartonbrook State Park in Wallingford will remain closed through the upcoming Memorial Day weekend. However, a timeline still has not yet been set on when those 2 parks will reopen. Now, DEP has decided that Squance Pond State Park and Candlewood Lake State boat launches, both of which are in New Fairfield, will remain closed through the holiday holiday weekend. Now, while power has been restored to the park, much of New Fairfield is still recovering from last week's storm. That, according to New Fairfield First Selectwoman Pat Delmonico. She also said due to catastrophic storm damage, our town cannot safely accommodate additional traffic on town roads at this time, including vehicles pulling boats. Now, additional patrols by the DEP and Con Police will continue to enforce the closures of Sleeping Giant, Wharton Brook, and Squan's Pond. As an alternative to the parks that remain closed, DEP reminds visitors that other neighboring state parks are available. All right, speaking of the holiday weekend, let's get a look at your forecast with Frank Granito. Frank.
Well, we'll focus on the next 3 days, Kate, because those are going to be the best ones of the weekend. A little bit cooler out today. Should be near perfect conditions around Fairfield County. Highs around 78 degrees. Plenty of sunshine and clear skies coming overnight with a low of 56. Warmer out tomorrow with temperatures up into the mid-80s, mostly sunny skies. We'll see a light breeze up around 15-20 miles per hour in the later parts of the day. Some increasing cloud cover overnight, and then warm out again on Saturday. A mix of sun and clouds for the day. Going to be a little bit more humid than what we're used to, and that's going to lead to some rain on the back half of the holiday weekend as we look ahead towards Sunday and Monday. A couple of those parades might not be under the best conditions on Monday, but we'll have more on that later in the week. For now, we go back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. And we're going to step out for a break. Come back. Donald Eng will take a look back on this day in history. We have more local news, and Frank will have your Nutmeg Sports update after this.
Voted Best Gourmet to Go in Fairfield County, Palmer's extensive menu offers everything you'll need to make your next event easy and delicious. Whether you're hosting a small get-together or planning a large celebration, they've got you covered breakfast through dessert. Order online at palmersdarien.com or call 203-655-2077.
Want to free up backyard space, or are you just sick of looking at your deteriorating pool? Call Gorilla Pool Removal today, the in-ground pool fill-in experts. Pay a fraction of the cost and pool remodel by filling it in with our experienced crew. Available 7 days a week by call or text. Find out more at GorilloPoolRemoval.com.
Welcome back to this May 24th edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. Time to take a look back on this day in history with Donald Eng. Don.
Well, Kate, we're going to stay relatively local today. Starting in 1626, Peter Minuit buys Manhattan for 60 guilders worth of goods, the equivalent of about $1,000 today. Now, according to the National Library of the Netherlands, the two sides probably had considerably different ideas about what exactly the transaction entailed. The Canarsie and Wappinger tribes that lived in the area were migratory, and the concept of land ownership likely would have been lost on them. This was hardly the last, though, one-sided land deal between Westerners and the native populations. 1738, English minister John Wesley experiences a strange, warm sensation during a prayer meeting at Aldersgate Street in London, and he comes away assured of his personal salvation. This is essentially the birth of Methodism. They call it Aldersgate Day. By the way, if you ever wondered why Methodism is called Methodism, Wesley preached that things like faith and doctrine must be defensible through reason, thus a method to your beliefs. 1883, the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City opens to traffic after 14 years of construction. 150,000 people crossed the bridge that day, and believe it or not, the bases of the bridge's towers were rented out for wine storage, of all things, since they were always 60 degrees Fahrenheit. P.T. Barnum's legendary march of 21 elephants over the bridge actually didn't occur until almost a full year later. Again, believe it or not, Barnum exaggerated his involvement slightly. Finally, now we go to 1940, just about 7 miles that way for this.
One sky, Igor Sikorsky and his helicopter prove that vertical flight has arrived. U.S. military observers see important uses for this craft that's supported only by its main rotor's downdraft. Notice the blown grass. Utilizes three-tailed propellers for control of flight forward, sideways, backwards, or in circles. Sikorsky has a...
That was Igor Sikorsky performing. Well, that wasn't him actually performing the first successful rotor helicopter flight, but that was the helicopter and Igor Sikorsky. Note the lack of any kind of safety equipment, by the way. Now a subsidiary of Lockheed Martin and still based in Stratford, Sikorsky's company employs about 15,000 workers, best known as the builder of the ubiquitous Black Hawk family of helicopters. That is your Look Back in History for today, May 24th, and I'm Donald Lang.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Well, back to your local news. Following years of tradition, there will be an outdoor graduation ceremony again this year in Weston. Now, the school administration had initially cut the cost of the graduation tent rental from its budget and planned to hold that ceremony inside the high school gym. But parents and students circulated a petition asking for the ceremony to remain outdoors. Now, when that request was denied, they offered to pay $21,500 for the expense of that outdoor ceremony. The cost includes over $15,000 for tent setup, takedown, and lighting, $3,200 for overtime costs for security, custodians, and site preparation, as well as 15% contingency. Now, in just 4 days, that group raised the total amount on a GoFundMe page and presented a $21,500 check to the Weston Board of Education last Friday. Now, this ensures that the graduation ceremony scheduled for Friday, June 22nd, will be held outdoors next to the high school under a large tent, rain or shine. There's more on that story at aspetuck.news. And setbacks in the Darien High School cafeteria expansion project have pushed the expected completion date into November, but the project's building committee is working to ensure that the extended construction does not impact the school's ability to function in the fall. Now, that project was brought to a halt shortly after breaking ground in April when the construction team discovered a duct bank containing power, telecommunication, and cable lines. And after contacting Eversource Energy, the building committee determined that the power lines would need to be moved in order to complete that cafeteria expansion and future projects near the Darien High School Stadium. Well, following that recommendation of Superintendent Dan Brenner, the committee chose to delay any further work on the project until after graduation. Now, Committee Chairman Jill McCammon has said that work is expected to resume on June 25th, and the power lines should be relocated by the end of July. Now, renovation of the existing cafeteria space in Darien High School would be completed in August in time for the start of school, and the external expansion would be completed in mid-November. More on that story at DarienTimes.com. And in Ridgefield, Chic the rescue camel has been welcomed to town by some Ridgefielders. People drive by to see him. Kids have left cards for him in the mailbox of his North Street home, but not everyone is happy. Now, our own Ridgefield Press reports that some neighbors are uneasy with having a camel in the neighborhood, expressing worries that range from property values to exotic viruses. And now there's talk of organizing a petition against that camel, although the animal's keepers don't appear to be violating any existing town ordinance or zoning regulation. Now, Jim Reedy, who lives on North Street a few houses from that camel's, told our Ridgefield Press that the place where they have their farm, or whatever you want to call it, it's very visible to the street. He said a camel is not necessarily a native animal in town. Reedy said he's concerned about property values. Now, his wife Judith Reedy is looking into organizing a petition against that camel. Now, Ridgefield First Selectman Rudy Marconi said he'd gotten calls from 5 or 6 North Street residents unhappy about the camel. However, the camel's owner has said he's gotten many positive reactions since April 27th when that 8-foot-tall, 1,800-pound animal arrived. Now, there is so much more on that story at theridgefieldpress.com. And in other news, in what has taken nearly 2 years to come to fruition, the Monroe Route 110-111 roundabout will finally be complete and ready for drivers on June 4th, barring any unforeseen construction delays. Now, Monroe First Selectman Ken Kellogg said motorists should be alert for changing traffic patterns at Route 110 Shelton Road and 111 Monroe Turnpike roundabout. Now, while the area will be completed for traffic, final landscaping work and retaining wall construction will continue into the late summer or the early fall. Now, this opening also brings an end to the mystery over what will sit in the center around which that traffic will travel. Now, Kellogg told the Monroe Courier, "I know there's been a lot of speculation, but I can confirm that the structure in the center of the roundabout will be a bell tower." Now, Kellogg said while the design was done with significant input from the Historic District Commission and Town Clerk Vita Stone, it too is fully funded through the state project. Now, on that tower, which will have a stone facade, will sit 4 medallions. One will be the Monroe Center gazebo, one will be the Stevenson Dam, another the Stepney Depot, and one of the town seal. Now, Kellogg said that while the roadway will be complete, he has no final date on the unveiling of that bell tower. More on that story at monroecourier.com. And in honor of National Llama Appreciation Day, Reading's Mark Twain Library is hosting a one-of-a-kind family fun event on Sunday, June 10th from 3 to 4:30 p.m. Now, activities for all ages will include Llamas 101, which is a meet and greet with local llamas named Samuel Clemens and Chief Aspetuck in the library's parking lot. Now, Reading's resident llama expert and owner of Clemens and Tuck, Dr. Jane Hamilton Merritt, will be on hand to enlighten visitors on the history and virtues of llamas, which are one of the oldest domesticated species in the world. Now, Hamilton Merritt is an author, photographer, a war correspondent, as well as a Connecticut Women's Hall of Fame inductee and Nobel Peace Prize nominee for her human rights work on behalf of the Hmong people of northern Laos. Now, she also has a keen interest in llamas and has served on the board of directors of GALA, the Greater Appalachian Llama and Alpaca Association. Now, this event is family friendly, but the library asks that all children be accompanied by an adult. Llamas do prefer calm, quiet surroundings. You can register online or call the library at 203-938-2545. All right, let's throw it over to Frank Granito now for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Frank.
All right, thank you, Kate. We were at Brian McMahon last night for the FCIAC boys lacrosse semifinals. First up, the number 2, number 3 matchup between New Canaan and the defending runner-up Ridgefield Tigers. Both teams finishing the season with a 10-1 conference record. But on this night, it was the Rams who would get the best of the Tigers, led defensively by Chase Strupp, Walker Kerr, Jackson Braden, and goaltender Carl Mizabris. The Rams stymie the Tigers' offense as they win this game 10-6 to advance back to the FCIAC championship. And they awaited the winner of Darien and Wilton in the nightcap. Well, the Blue Wave, despite only leading 1-0 after the first quarter, they left no doubt about it in this one, on their way to a 12-goal victory. Led up front by Logan McGovern, 7 points, including 5 goals in the 17-5 victory. The Blue Wave now will play to win a 5th consecutive FCIAC championship. They are 6-1 all-time in the championship game against New Canaan, including having won the last 6. New Canaan's only win against Darien in the FCIAC championship game, 1993. Couple FCIAC champions crowned yesterday in tennis. Congratulations to the Staples Wreckers boys and girls team as they both get 4-3 victories. The boys taking down rival Greenwich and the girls upsetting number 1 seed Darien. In baseball, we had 2 semifinals played last night. Darien's Justin Jordan throws a 1-hitter as the Blue Wave defeat number 8 Fairfield Ludlow 2-0. Second playoff game in a row that the Blue Wave pitching staff has thrown a 1-hitter. They will now take on defending Class LL champion Staples, who defeated Danbury 3-0 in the second semifinal. That game being played tonight at 7 o'clock. Also at 7 o'clock tonight, the FCIAC Girls Lacrosse Championship. Number 1 Darien looking to win an unprecedented 7th consecutive conference title against number 3 Wilton, who they defeated in last year's Class L championship game. And you'll have softball semifinals as well tonight. Ludlow and St. Joe's at 3 p.m. from Sacred Heart, followed by Trumbull and Stanford at 5. Kevin and I will break all of this down at 2 o'clock on Nutmeg Sports. For now, though, we send it back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. And we're going to step out for a break, come back. John Kovach joins me to preview our front pages this week after this.
Now teeing off, Paul Miller from Miller Nissan in Fairfield.
Excuse me, Mr. Miller. What about my new Sentra?
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
He is never going to retire.
At Galt, we always put you first. As your full-service home heating partner, we provide expert delivery, installation, and maintenance for all your heating needs with knowledgeable, friendly professionals that give you peace of mind 24/7. Galt Family Companies, you first since 1863.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home. Time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
A Better View Window Cleaning Plus has been cleaning glass all over Connecticut for over 20 years. They also specialize in cleaning chandeliers, mirrors, skylights, tiles, and will power wash anything that needs cleaning. They hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and are fully insured and bonded. When you deal with a Better View, you're dealing with the best, not the rest. Call today for a free estimate, 203-284-8836, or visit them online, abetterviewcleaning.com.
Now teeing off, Paul Miller from Miller Nissan in Fairfield.
Excuse me, Mr. Miller. What about my new Sentra?
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
He is never going to retire.
At Galt, we always put you first. As your full-service home heating partner, we provide expert delivery, installation, and maintenance for all your heating needs with knowledgeable, friendly professionals that give you peace of mind 24/7. Galt Family Companies, you first since 1863.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, joined in studio now by our editorial director, John Kovacs, to preview our newspapers that are out today. John, what are you looking at first?
Lots going on in Shelton, Kate, where a student was arrested for having a BB gun that police said resembled an actual handgun on the campus of Shelton High School. We had this unusual twist in what was an arson case that's become a child pornography arrest. A retired teacher from Shelton will be leading the Memorial Day Parade in Reading. A new leader at Holy Trinity Catholic Academy, outdoor classroom at Perry Hill School, and despite the lack of power, volunteers still got Plum Memorial Library ready for the book sale, which starts this evening.
Very cool. All right, taking a look at the Stratford Star this week. Of course, a preview of their Memorial Day ceremonies and parade on Monday. Also, a student, Mariella Aguar, she's a 6th grader at Second Hill Lane Elementary School. She's heading to the National Invention Convention. Very cool. And State Senator Kevin Kelly has a challenger for his seat in Monica Tujak Brill. So more on that in the Stratford Star.
In the Easton Courier, we learned that the town has voted to send another $400,000 to schools.
All right, looking at the Trumbull Times this week, just really the photos from this car accident that happened on the Merritt Parkway northbound at exit 48 on Sunday. No serious injuries, thankfully, but the photos are just unbelievable. It's amazing that everyone walked away. Also more on former First Selectman Tim Herbst and his brother-in-law settling that lawsuit. It actually did cost town taxpayers about $25,000. More on that. Also, Richard Deacon to challenge Marilyn Moore in the state Senate seat that represents Trumbull in part. Veterans and students to be featured in the Memorial Day ceremony, and officers named to new leadership roles.
Students in Monroe found out that June 22nd will be the end of the school year. We had the 15th annual Monroe Police Fishing Derby. That was at Great Hollow Lake at Wolf Park. I was down there for a little bit. It was a fun time. Story you just brought us about the roundabout that's going to become reality on June 4th. And Monroe having its Memorial Day Parade on Sunday, May 27th.
All right, looking at the Milford Mirror this week, a firefighter who was let go after getting in a brawl is fighting to get his job back now. Matthew LaVecchia, more on that. Also, an old diner coming down, the Milford Diner, which has been downtown for a long time. There is a sign on it saying that demolition coming soon. It has become a bit of an eyesore. Also, the Grand Marshal hoping for a big turnout for Milford's Memorial Day Parade. That's Christine Smith, and a lot more in this week's Milford Mirror.
A Navy veteran will lead Richfield's Memorial Day Parade, which will be going down Main Street. Some stunning pictures of the damage in Ridgefield. These are from the Ridgefield Community Emergency Response Team and show, a tree down on a house, a tree down over, BMW. And there's a fundraiser being held in Ridgefield. A postal worker who serves the town lost his home in the storm.
All right, taking a look at the New Canaan Advertiser this week. A nice prom photo of some students leaving the Roger Sherman Inn to head to their prom. Also, Memorial Day Parade and Ceremony Monday, a preview of what's coming up. And interestingly, the New Canaan Police and the schools at odds over access to indoor security camera images. Police may be asked to put on the school board's agenda to discuss their access to that. And Himes' staying put story needs to be told. More on that.
Reading is mourning its town historian, Charlie Couch, who passed away, and one of the tributes paid to him was that it was fitting that he passed on the day a tornado touched down because he was that kind of a dynamic personality. Also, a 35-year sentence for a sexual assault. That is a case that occurred at the home of and involves a former school board member.
Yes. All right, taking a look at the Darien Times this week. The big news in Darien breaking is that Superintendent Dan Brenner announced his intention to resign next week after 3 years holding that position. He didn't give many details, but say a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity came up to head a private school. So more on that in the Darien Times. Also, Old Town Hall homes approved for state funding. The story we mentioned earlier on Coffee Break, and that's that the Darien High School cafeteria expansion delayed, and that finish now being pushed to November.
The sexual molestation suit against the town of Wilton has been settled with the family of a student. The town is hanging plants and getting ready not just for summer, but for this weekend's Memorial Day festivities. The Land Trust is looking to buy property on Ridgefield Road that could also be developed. The parade in Wilton will be Monday, May 28th, and also that day you can get pancakes from the Kiwanis, and Ross Tartell will be running in the 125th district. That is Wilton and part of New Canaan.
All right, taking a look at the Weston Forum this week, a story we just mentioned on Coffee Break, but the graduation ceremony will be held outdoors now, rain or shine, because a group of parents raised over $21,000 in just a few days after that item was cut from the school's budget. So I know a lot of people are excited about that in Weston.
Our Arts and Leisure section takes a look at the 88th season of the Westport Country Playhouse and the Cupcake Quest. Cupcake's still a fad. They're holding on. They're really, and I'm fine with that. I'm good with that.
It's a good thing. All right. Also inside the Weston Forum we just mentioned is our Weston Special section. Just so much great information in there. Definitely check it out. Really anything you could want to know about the town you can find in that special section.
Also, a couple of our papers have Memorial Day special sections. The Wilton Bulletin and the Darien Times, both saluting veterans as we get ready to pay tribute to those who gave all in service to our country.
Yeah, really great special sections there. Be sure to check those out. All right, those are our front pages this week. Now, John, there is no Yankee Fisherman.
You know what? I'm going to do a rerun. We have traditionally done a boating safety segment right before Memorial Day, and we're going to rerun one of those because things don't change. The same rules apply. And then we'll have Nutmeg Sports, and we will look back at last night's FCAC Boys Lacrosse semifinals and look ahead to tonight's Girls Championship and tomorrow's Boys Championship.
That's right. Yeah, it's exciting. There will be no coffee break tomorrow, but we will be live for the FCAC Boys Lacrosse Championship in the evening, so that's exciting. So make sure to stay tuned, and we will be back with your coffee break after the holiday weekend. Wishing you all a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. We'll see you soon.